In this episode of the Orange Nerd Show, I am joined by a fantastic panel. We're talking all about the Walt Disney Company annual shareholders meeting. It was a banger. A lot to discuss up next on Orange Nerd. Welcome back to another episode of the Orange Nerd Show. We have a lot to dive into, so I'm going to introduce my fantastic panel. Coming back to the show, Alia. Alia, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for the wonderful welcome. And I'm sure this will be fun.
Yeah,
nervous, but
no, don't be nervous.
That's because my training wheels are back on again. But
if you can let everybody at home know where
I
they
love
can find,
streaming, but shy about it.
No worries. If you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Twitter, tweet. Or it's a dog today.
That's true.
It's true.
Dogecoin.
Yes.
And because I cannot internet, sometimes I don't know if my imaging has been reversed. I'll just say Alia Aloha, and you see it on the screen.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely follow Alia on Twitter. She is phenomenal. Always bringing really, really interesting insight and perspectives on Disney, entertainment. Fantastic source of just information and perspective in general. Definitely follow her on Twitter. And right over here, we got Dr. Dre, producer Dre, Vash Sky, host of the Freshly Squeezed Show. Long time no see, Dre. How long has it been? Like 12 hours since we
Yeah, I think it's even been less than that, actually. I think we met 2:30. Yeah, it's been a, look, listen,
busy
sometimes
time.
you just gotta go back into the seat. We told everybody, hey, we're going to be recording a response to the 2023 annual shareholders meeting, and lo and behold, here we are. So this is the only place I want to be. But if you guys want to follow me at home, you can go and do so right down there at Vash Sky. Just go ahead and type it in, and it should pop up for, as Christine Wastelands McCarthy would say, for all the discussion right there. And if you want to find me, well, you can see me here at Orange Grove 55, right? Where we have some amazing shows, including the one you're watching, Orange Nerd, hosted by the amazing gentleman to my left. Citrus Corner, hosted by the amazing, the incredible, my brother George. Story Geeks with Jay, which we're exactly right. We're covering every single episode of The Mandalorian as it comes out, and it's getting very, very interesting. So you guys definitely want to tune in for that. And if you want to see me on Orange Grove 55, we also have my show, Freshly Squeezed, your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh, right from the Grove.
Perfect. And right down below, we got Ethan, Mr. Theme Park Wizard. Ethan, welcome back. That is absolutely you. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Multiple places. You can find me on YouTube at Theme Park Wizard, on Twitter at Park Wizard 1, and then you can find me on Instagram, theme_park_wizard, and buy all my crap at themeparkwizard.shop. And don't forget, I will rip you off.
Oh, you're fantastic.
Pay attention, it's Joe time.
That's fantastic. That's a great tagline, Ethan. That's really fantastic.
Sounds like it is.
So let's dive right into this annual shareholder meeting. It was it went in a lot of directions I was not expecting, to be quite honest.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was very surprised by how portions of the meeting actually played out. Now, look, people, they listen to review this stuff and they're like, oh, man, that caller is crazy, or that proposal's insane or whack. There's always fireworks at every single one of these shareholders meetings. Been covering it for a long, long time. Remember, OG, how, for several years in a row, somebody would always ask about how can we get Song of the South, right? Song of the South is banned in the U.S. How can we get a copy of it? And every single time, Iger was like, no. But,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it just goes back a long way. But now, as, you know, the company has gotten itself a little bit more politically proactive, let's say, right? Well, now the fireworks have really, you know, are coming out, and that's been the case for several years here. This was no exception. But before those fireworks actually played out, I want to go ahead and start this video out the way that they started this shareholders meeting out, with comments from Bob Iger. So go ahead and share my screen there. Now, I'd love to play his comments because I actually think they're pretty good. But unfortunately, there's music behind all of this, and I don't know if we're going to get copyrighted. So I'll just go ahead and let you know, the visuals kind of demonstrate what he's actually talking about. There's quite a few in here. It's interesting, OG. This is shareholders meeting, right? This is all aspects of the company, right? I mean, it's regarding DTC, theatrical, the various studios that they have under their control, you know, all their interests in a plethora of industries, right? And they really highlighted the parks this time. I thought that was very, very interesting, right?
Yes,
What
they
do you guys
did.
What do you guys think about that? Because that's really interesting.
Alio, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that? The fact that they really did kind of zero in on the parks right out the gate.
Loved it. Promising. And I don't know. It's a great way, because I think one of the top ways for everybody kind of to fall in love with the Walt Disney Company is you have those memories of your trips to the parks. So that was a great way to touch into that versus even a movie or anything like that. At least for me, I know it's anecdotal, but my most prominent memory of my love for Disney when I was younger is related to the parks. And parks are most profitable, popular time with the D23 Expo. And Iger has heard the complaints, I believe, that the parks are not getting a lot of love or investment. So the fact that he's focusing on the parks, and then the highlight, yes, of the 100th anniversary, great way to get a lot of, you could say the majority of Disney fans, not just Twitter, et cetera, but just Disney fans, general audience involved, is focusing on the parks and the love for the parks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ethan, Mr. Wizard, what are your thoughts on the focus of the theme parks? I know you're a theme park guy, so you're probably pretty ecstatic.
Very exciting, very exciting. You know, yeah, he didn't show, well, he showed a movie, but he's really focusing on those parks. He went project by project, went to Toontown, went to around the world, international. Then with the promise of $17 billion in investments coming to only Florida. Florida. You know, that's still pretty cool. Like,
Yep.
Maybe he's really, with Bruce Vaughn, really zeroing in on some nice parks investment coming. I'm very excited for Destination D, because with $17 billion in 10 years, you got to start relatively soon, without saying something. So I feel like in Destination D, we'll hear some of that $17 billion for Florida. So I'm excited for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Dre, what are your thoughts about this? About the heavy focus on the theme parks, but also that 17 billion over 10 years.
Yeah, and we'll get to the context in which that was actually forwarded, which is very, very interesting. But I do agree with Alia. It is it's a goodwill olive branch, let's say, right, to the fandom, or just to the public at large through the parks, right? I think that's very, very a critical part. The company, Iger, knows that, and I just want to say, throughout all of his comments, man, he comes off as just a smooth cat, right? He just a one heck of a player, and it's quite fascinating to kind of see him operate, right? And I knew this was coming, and man,
he didn't use the term yield management.
Yeah,
didn't use yield management, but just comes off so warm, so reassuring, so smooth. I mean, really, guys, look up the 2022 annual meeting of shareholders, right? With Chapek, it's night and day. they had a recorded portion of that too with Jake Beck. Visual presentation, right? Just night and day. I mean, it's so crazy how he operates. So yes, I do think they were generally well received. Parks Focus is interesting because it's the one area of the Walt Disney Company that you can point to that is doing very, very, very well, undisputed. Demonstrably. That is the one, right? And it is the one really kind of funding a lot of the company's endeavors going forward. So to highlight that, to make it a main emphasis, I think it's a good direction. And to hear about that investment, we have been talking about how, oh man, I wish they would stop using the parks as a piggy bank and actually, invest money into it, because it is such a profitable section of your company, and to hear $10 billion, $17 billion over 10 years. I do apologize.
Yes.
That's quite a bit of money. I mean, if you divide that up, per park, I think it comes out to what, 425 million or so per park per year. Now, again, you have 25 resort hotels added to that, right? So, and that's, upkeep and a whole bunch of, I'm sure, infrastructural projects that go along with that. We'll see how far that goes, but it is a very, very encouraging sign. One, that they are focusing on the parks, and two, that you have somebody who kind of understands their worth and value.
Yeah, and I think it will go far because rarely do we ever see Disney sort of like focus on all 4 parks every year. So I think what we'll likely see is a focus on maybe 1 or 2 of the parks, and then a year might go by where they don't really spend a whole lot, and then the next year will go by and they'll do like another park, and then it seems like the history of like how they kind of like invest in these parks is a little bit more selective and a little bit more and a little bit sporadic, right? So I think the 17 billion, if used that way, will go very, very far. But like you're right, Dre, if they do 4 parks every year, then it's spreading a little thin. But I don't think they will, because historically they just haven't done it that way in the past.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that either.
Yeah.
I think we can all go and know where they're going next. Something with a live action remake coming.
That's true. The other portion of this is good thing you pointed that out.
Great segue.
Wizard. Yeah. And we'll get to it, but can't say that. But Moana right here, right? So we'll let that play a little bit while he's actually walking through there. First, before we get to the live action portion of this presentation, Moana looks pretty good. I mean, look, is it going to knock your socks off? I don't think so, but I think it's going to be well received. It looks like a quality execution right here.
Can't wait to see what the water turned on.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, Ethan. I think that when the water's like trickling down the beautiful rock work, and then you have all these little waterfalls and like fountains and what have you, I think this could be really, really gorgeous. They might even incorporate some fiber optics to make it kind of shimmer and shine at nighttime. Looks pretty cool. Nice. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Ollie, on this little area in Epcot?
I think it'll be a nice little peaceful enclave. Having a brain freeze, Ditzy, to go to. I wouldn't be surprised if it'll be like a nice little escape. Especially with a lot of the vegetation. Also, okay, yes, with the water and the vegetation, there's that concrete sun effect that can make things really warm, especially then at Florida. So it's summer with the plants and the water. I think it'll be nice and kind of almost coolish there in that part. So it'll be a nice respite area during the summertime. Tranquil, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if there's nice music in the background. It'll just have like a really great peaceful feeling to it. Just
absolutely. What do you think, Dr. Dre?
Look, like I said, I is it going to be Pandora 2.0? No. But will it feature some of those aspects? I think it might. The interactivity with water actually goes back a long, long time for Epcot, back to 1982 when the park actually opened. Well, actually, I don't think it was their opening day, but soon thereafter, the water little play area in front of the Imagination Pavilion, right? That was... I mean, people have fond memories. People talk about that with such great detail. and such great fascination, even today, you know, the backwards
Yeah.
waterfall and all that, and the jumping water effects, to do something like that, but a little bit more nature inspired and on a big scale, I think that would be very, very well received. So I'm excited. Now, he did say that this was going to be the completion of Epcot's transformation. No, there's a big crater in the middle of your forecourt area of your theme
Right.
park. And there's also interventions, I think the west building that needs to be completed. But I think it will be very, very nice to have, as Ollie was saying, in the Florida sun, you know, it's a very hot park to kind of go in here and relax, cool down. I think it'll be very, very nice. But then Iger, being the consummate professional, transitioned from that into the announcement. You can go ahead. By The Rock of a live action Moana film that's currently in development. That's a very kind of interesting prospect because Moana is, you know, it's the one film of the sequels that were recently announced, right? That was omitted. Even though you see it every single, and Alia, I think you've seen this before as well. If you look at the streaming numbers for Disney's DTC division, or even in general, right? This pops up as, you know, in the top 10 every single year for films that are played via streaming constantly. I mean, just over and over and over and over and over again. This is a very successful film for the company. Investing more into it, I think, is appropriate. Live action, though, that took me by surprise.
Well, it's interesting, and you know, people are saying it's kind of soon for a live action remake of Moana, and I.
Hello.
Yes, I will say with OG's comments there, some people think it's kind of soon. I don't really see that. I mean, when did the film come out, Alia? Do you?
Oh my goodness.
2016.
Thank you.
2016.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, about 7 years ago. Look, it still gets crazy amounts of play. I think they could do it. It's going to take about 2 years for this thing to even hit theaters anyway, you know, if not longer. You know, you're going to be about 10 years removed by that date. I think you can do it. What do you think, Alia?
I mean, I kind of see why it's newish to people, but I don't know. It doesn't completely bother me. The live action version too might get the audience that maybe that the animated feature did not reach. I have a great love for animated features, a great bias for the animated features. I agree it's not a genre, it's a method of film. I'm all about that. Yet there's just some people, unfortunately, that just don't want to see an animated feature. And so this would be a great way then for that story to reach such people. And also then even the animated feature fans, they tend to like these live action redos because they sometimes take a different angle. I'm open-minded about it. I know that there was some reaction that was negative. I'll wait and see. Ali, she's involved too. She'll be a producer. So there's The Rock will be a producer as well. There's feelings that they're going to be both cast in the film, but as it was pointed out, that hasn't been confirmed. People are kind of getting ahead of themselves, but you know, most likely. But at the same time, I'm open-minded about it. I'm wait and see, and let's go. Let's have fun with it.
Yeah, it might be really, really cool. Yeah, I sorry about that. My connection dropped, but
no worries.
I agree with you, Dre. That you know, it's 2016 film. By the time this thing hits theaters, it's going to be about a decade probably since the animated film. I think it's okay, and I think there's some opportunities here with Moana in live action that might be very interesting. If they utilize some of the cool tech that James Cameron used in like The Way of Water and things like that,
That would be cool.
right? I think now you're kind of doing something pretty interesting. So with these live action remakes, I'm not usually a big fan of them because usually the films, I don't know, the films are they're big shoes to fill, right? Like how are you going to redo Beauty and the Beast? Come on. You know, Lion King and Moana is fantastic, but I will have an open mind. Let's see what they do with this one. I think there's potential here. It's really all about the execution. So
Wizard.
Oh boy, I am pumped. I am the biggest fan of live action remakes. I loved Aladdin, the live action version, so much. I was like, wow, like, woo. I watched that so many times. And I think it's so cool because it's like live action, real people. Like, woo, wee. I love the Beauty and the Beast. I love them all. So I'm pumped for this one, especially because they're still, young enough to hopefully, like you said, be cast in their own roles. Like that'd be so cool. Like The Rock coming in there in live action and the lovely cute Hawaiian girl that's really hot will pop in there. Like woo! And then Manta Ray. Hopefully they don't do the Little Mermaid version of the Manta Ray and they make it look all real and ugly. But a nice stylized Manta Ray. Oh, what the hell? Clothes at night. Ooh, 1.5 billion easily. Calling it.
I will say this is the first time that we've seen, I think, a live action remake where the animated film has such demand, right? Previously,
Right.
it was like, let's take our classics and kind of like, recanonize them almost or kind of reintroduce them to a new generation. This isn't that far. This isn't that far away. It's going to be interesting to see how this one performs because, like I said, there really is demand for this one. And like you said, OG, it's all in the quality of execution. If they do, utilize some of those effects from James Cameron, man, that would be a banger. But then, hopefully the casting lives up to the actual Moana franchise.
Thank you very much.
We're gonna have to go in a different direction. We're gonna have to go. I don't think that's gonna fly. But we will see. Now, pivoting a little bit here, back to the parks just for a second. Yeah, this, I believe, is the first time that the company has made. I understand that they were going to port out of Singapore for this Golden Dreams ship that they acquired. By the way, Bob Chapek. Okay, all right. I knew it was a good deal, and it looks like it's gonna be a good deal. But okay, but
Iger kept it.
there's exactly right. But they're suggesting it's gonna actually make travel and service the Southeast Asian section of the world. This is kind of interesting. We were supposed to bring this up on a Citrus Corner earlier, but because Bob Iger brought it up, I thought it might lead to some interesting discussion. What do you guys think about this? Because this is a first. It's a kind of a first of its kind in many ways. It's the first one that's actually kind of serviced this region of the world. And also, too, this is a cruise ship that they did not actually build by scratch and designed by from scratch. This is one that they've actually acquired and are now converting into a Disney Cruise Liner. What do you guys think about this?
It's interesting, Dre. We had a conversation yesterday off air about this ship, and you brought up a fantastic point, right? So the medium income for Singapore, which is where this ship will be docking, is lower than some of the other ports, right? And your speculation was maybe this will be more of a value orientated ship, right? Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I think that's actually pretty smart if that's the direction they're going in. Number one, it's a bigger ship. So if you're going to have a more value orientated sort of thing, then you would obviously need something a little bigger because you're going to have a lot more demand for something like that.
Yeah.
But
I think
also, they got
go ahead,
the
Ethan.
ship. They said they got the ship. The ship was itself cheaper because it's just a refurbished ship. So
Right.
they
Oh,
can do that
much
value
cheaper.
experience.
That's true.
Right.
It would pencil out.
The
Right,
ROI
right.
makes sense, is what he's talking about, and
Yes.
I happen to very much agree. Also, too, you don't necessarily have to redesign the interior of the ship to match the, let's say, the aesthetic quality of something that's built from scratch to Disney's exact specifications. You could even keep the cabins, let's say, the size that they have them. Well, you can keep them kind of small, right? Because it's going to be probably a value option in terms of its pricing, and you make it up on volume with a bigger vessel. I think this is. Wait a minute. Maybe I have a. Yeah, here we go.
I see this as an absolute win.
There you go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is it. This was a brilliant deal that Chapek, and I'm going to give Chapek credit for. A lot of people give Chapek shit, but we got to give credit where it's due. And this was Chapek's thing, and he got this ship for pennies on the dollar or whatever, right? Rock bottom price, and it was brilliant. Like you said, Dre, the ROI on this is going to be fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it turns out.
I am. Alia, any final thoughts?
I feel like I don't know enough about the subject to, I mean, to converse about it. I do. So it was about to be sold for scrap, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yeah. And
definitely,
Chapek
definitely a good
swooped in.
find. Definitely a good save. So
Well,
that would have been a
Alia,
shame. Oh, go
don't
ahead.
worry. I'll take you on the ship for some research and development purposes. Maybe Disney will give us a nice free trip so we can do some research and development.
Hey, if they're you know, if
They're
they're throwing
watching.
out voyages, well, who are we to decline? Who are we?
Come on.
We will have to, admit it, have the writing on the bottom of the video. We accepted a trip from Disney on the ship.
Absolutely.
Lastly, as part of this introductory video, I also, this was very, very interesting for me because I was expecting, like Chapek, for example, right? The last shareholders meeting, he was like, "Oh, look at our Reimagine Tomorrow initiative. Look at this initiative. Look at this. And it was like, okay, I get it. I understand. Cool. That's fine. But this one was interesting because I think this is an example of maybe the more, let's say, the moderate approach that the Disney company is taking with all things, Disney, in that they didn't highlight Reimagine Tomorrow or any of the other kind of initiatives. They highlighted their veterans program in which they seek to hire on veterans who have served for key positions within their company. And, they have iconography of the American flag and so forth. I was like, wow, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting this. As part of a Bob Iger presentation. I was kind of shocked, and that kind of tone kind of followed me throughout the entire course of the actual meeting itself. This was a surprising one, guys. I think a lot of people are kind of not giving this the attention it deserves. This is a big change just from jump right here than last year.
It's a huge change, and a lot of people are not giving credit to Disney for this. This approach, this obviously this huge signal of a new direction for the Walt Disney Company. It was very clear, even from that sizzle reel for the Disney 100, where they're using Walt's speech from Disneyland's opening day and talking about America and how in the sizzle reel it says Disney. They edited it very cleverly.
It's not Disneyland, right?
It's not Disneyland, but it was built on the American dream and ideals and what have you. And that was also a huge tell right there. Very much leaning into the Americana, which was very taboo just a few years ago. So there is a shift here with the Walt Disney Company, and Bob Iger is telling us, and we'll get into more of this, I think, as it goes on, because there's a lot of examples of this.
For sure.
But Bob Iger is really saying here, look, you know what? We're going to moderate. We're not going to please everybody all the time, right?
Yep.
And he's right. There will be people out there, no matter how much they moderate, they're still going to say that this company is woke. It's not far enough. It's not far enough. And there's people on the left that'll say that this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, I think Disney is making a good faith effort to come into the middle and try at least, and make an attempt at least, to be four quadrant again and appeal to everybody and be a big tent company. So I think it's great news. I've been wanting this for a long, long time. I don't know. What do you think, Alia? What do you think? Is this a sign of a kind of a Disney company moderating itself?
I think it is. It's definitely a sign of the company embracing the founding of the company by it's an American company. Didn't shy away from embracing Walt. We heard the Walt's quote. We saw images of Walt, and then highlighting about the veterans, showing the flag, and so it's not being shy about that at all. And to me, that is a moderate approach. Yeah. And you could say it's a Venn diagram of moderate, a little bit over progressive, moderate, a little bit over conservative, but primarily it's the big circle is moderate. So
yeah. There's some over to the window, of course, but I thought this was a real good faith effort. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to echo your sentiments, Alia and OG, actually, about the Walt thing, well, you heard, and you'll hear these responses from Bob Iger specifically, but you heard several times, oh, as Walt put it, or as Walt used to say, or, he kind of really kind of bringing back the Walt, bring back its connections to the kind of formation of the company as they celebrate this 100-year anniversary. So I thought that was kind of like, I see what you did there, and it was nice, right? And they highlighted the company's efforts, like, for example, Make-A-Wish, their work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? Their charitable efforts, and kind of these unifying things that kind of everybody can kind of rally around. I was like, that's good. That's nice, I think even when I was listening to a little bit of VR and Pros live stream of it, they were like, "Ooh, this is what the company should be doing," and it's like, that's the point. So I thought that was quite nice. Wizard, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's great. Moderate is what you gotta go to get the most money possible. Because we like money. So you gotta have moderate movies, right? You gotta have the fun. Hopefully this means they can bring the fun back really in the movie segment, Just have fun, good movies like they used to in 2019. 2019 had 1 billion dollar movies. We gotta get back to that. I think this might be in the right direction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what, if anything, I think Top Gun Maverick and even films like Avatar: Way of Water have really shown Hollywood is that these kind of like old school, kind of like less political kind of films and content does really well right now. There's a hunger for it out there. And look, people like Bob Iger, he's a businessman, right? And I've been saying this for a long, long time. He is not as woke or as progressive as a lot of people think he is. Because and I've said this in many videos, but hey, if this is your first time watching, maybe you're not aware, but I used to be a Bernie bro back in 2016. I remember the public fighting he would get into with Bernie Sanders. He is not super left. Okay, now he kind of dove into that when he felt he needed to, when he thought he was going to run for president. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think Bob Iger is very much a moderate Democrat, right? And I think he's kind of coming back to his roots a little bit here. And also, he's a businessman who understands that regardless, I think, of his own personal politics, that this stuff, they have to change, because you have to create content that people are going to consume. Otherwise, there won't be a Walt Disney Company. They're not going to survive. So as a businessman on that level, I think he understands that. So that's kind of where we're at.
I think it's fairly accurate, and you actually hear Iger's comments about this many times as we go along with this meeting. But we'll dispense with the the proposals. I guess go ahead.
One more thing though before we move on to the next thing, because we were talking about the parks, so I figure I'll throw this in there now.
Please.
Parks.
He did mention the Marvel theme park rights.
Oh, he did. I was going to save that for the question and answer portion.
Oh, let's do it. We'll save it for that then.
Okay. Because I got a lot
important
to say about that, as you can probably surmise, but I need his comments before we get there.
Absolutely.
Don't worry. The proposals, they went about for and against in the way that the board wanted, so there's no real kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. There was a proposal.
It's not like last year when that one shareholder proposal passed. So, yeah.
Yeah. The shareholder proposal for an operational report relating to China, that didn't go through. I think it was 89% against. Transparency and charitable donations via report, 92% against. And then, but this was an interesting one, the political expenditures report. And this was, I forget who actually forwarded this, but she was part of an educational program, if I'm not mistaken, or educational maybe union or so group. And what they were looking for was, hey, if we're going to be making political donations, let's say, we want to know, an itemized list basically of where those go, how much, and so forth. It's kind of interesting to hear that actually had 36% for and 63% against. I thought that was very, very interesting, because I'm sure there are institutional players who would like to know where Disney is spending its money in that avenue. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's a good point. It's such a high, I mean, it's not like 50-50 or anything like that, but such a high, it makes you think that some whales, so to speak, or orca type investors, as I call them, they voted yes for that. That does make you wonder. Good point, Dre.
Yeah.
Right. And also too, I thought the other thing that was kind of interesting was there was a proposal for the frequency of advisory votes on executive compensation. What that means is how often are we going to reevaluate executive compensation as we go along here? Because I think there's like different frequencies that you can vote for, like a 3-year basis or an annualized basis and so forth. They all voted for an annualized basis, which was what the board was wanting as well. So I think they want the ability to kind of reevaluate executive compensation as it goes along here. It's part of the accountability paradigm. Yes, which he did emphasize again in the introductory video. But now, the Q&A portion without further ado. And we start off with Corey. Alia, you want to let us know a little bit about Corey's story specifically? I think it's kind of fascinating.
I don't know great details. I did read that article this morning before the call from Wall Street Journal. They did cover her, but she's 18 years old, and so I do recommend people looking up that article. But she's 18 years old, and since she was a young girl, I think from her grandmother, she received a share, and her family decided to make trips out of the shareholder meetings before they were virtual. She's adopted, and her dad is a veteran. In fact, he's in a wheelchair. So they said something about they don't really go to beach destinations or anything like that. And so they like to visit the parks, and then they like to go to the shareholder meeting. And she was able to ask a question, and then it just became a tradition. She's been able to ask a question at almost all of them, except maybe 2 or 3 in the recent history for at least 10 years or so, if I'm recalling correctly. And cool. She's so infamous that Iger recognized her and acknowledged her. So
that's cool.
That's pretty great.
I thought that was great. I really like that.
Now I want her to become the future CEO, just to complete this story.
Yeah.
It's like, this will make it so wonderful.
Let's play your comments. Let's play because that little interaction is very interesting. She did.
She was young. They were cute little questions, but as she's gotten older and more educated about this stuff, she does ask good questions. So
cool.
I agree, and I thought her question was pretty good here.
His first question comes from Corey Borgstadt from Lubbock, Texas. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Corey, and I'm a shareholder from Arizona. Disney Plus has become a place where fans can find diverse stories from the characters we have come to know and love. But do you think there ever will be a time where there becomes too much content to the point where it becomes overwhelming for the viewer and the content doesn't always live up to the Disney quality standard?
Ooh, good question.
That's a good question. And, Iger had some interesting remarks on it.
Well, Corey, first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't say welcome back. I know you have an incredible track record of attending these meetings and asking questions. I think probably getting back to the time you were in early elementary school. So it's certainly nice to hear from you. We are probably one of the world's largest creators of content. But when we decide to make content or tell stories, our aim always is quality. And I must admit, sometimes volume can be tricky in terms of maintaining quality. And I think there is a limit in terms of what can be made or what should be made, something that we're always mindful of. So I'm proud of our track record in terms of what we've made and the quality of it, but I'm also mindful that sometimes the more is not necessarily the merrier.
That was a great response, honestly.
I agree. I had to admit, I mean, the company was maybe spread a little bit too thin. Maybe creating a little bit too much content, going all types of places to refocus. I think it's a good move, and also they're going to have to if they're going to consolidate. So, pretty good quality over quantity. I would agree with that position. Yeah,
and I think that's the direction you got to go in this particular environment, and especially with Disney, right? Like especially with Disney because you they're seen as a premium brand. And you don't want to become Hanna-Barbera, right? Where Hanna-Barbera for the longest time, they were just churning out shows like crazy, like in the 70s and 80s and stuff, but with no real focus on quality. It was just like that quantity over the quality. I would never want Disney to get to that point, right? I'd rather have less Marvel movies, less Marvel shows, less Star Wars content.
Same.
If it means that when we do get that content, it's out of this world crazy good, you know? So I think they're going to get back to that. And I think that it will benefit them long term. Absolutely. That's the focus. That's what you have to do. So well said, Bob Iger. Well said.
Nice.
What do you think, Mr. Wizard? You agree with that? Or are you...
Oh, definitely. You know, boy, especially, with Victoria Alonso gone. And if you separate some of these Marvel projects, you have many more time, of course, freshen up those VFX. Hopefully, they'll be amazing now, because I know the VFX people didn't like Victoria that much. So now that she's gone, maybe the quality will be much better. Maybe they'll be treated better, and then more time to focus on good scripts and just overall good stories for each Marvel, instead of like, oh gosh, gotta get this deadline. Hurry up. Boom. All right, gotta get this deadline because the next one's coming out. Now some space. You only got two. Secret Invasion, June 21st, and Loki in September. Nice little break there. So I think it'll be pretty good. Nice little breather. And then also won't feel like it's too overwhelming. Like, man, all right, just finished one. Oh gosh, now I gotta watch The Mandalorian. Oh, Mandalorian's over. Oh, got Secret Invasion starts in the week.
Right.
Okay,
That's interesting.
Now let's get a little break, a little mental break, and then it brings out the excitement, right? Because remember WandaVision, there's Mandalorian, right? The very first one. Like, oh my gosh, first Star Wars show, what is this? This is crazy. Then it was like number one on Nielsen every week, right? Then WandaVision, right, came out. That was a big break, though, between Mandalorian and WandaVision. Like, oh my gosh, super exciting, woo! And then it started to get a little too crazy, but those it really makes it more special, when it's just like one or two a year. You're like, it builds up the excitement.
Well, and another thing that is really important, especially when it comes to Marvel and the MCU, is that Marvel has what we call like the cinematic universe. And one issue with overproducing, like having too much content out there, is that when people don't have the time to watch it all, to keep up with it, they get overwhelmed with, well, I can't watch Hawkeye because I'm not caught up. I got to watch the last 3 shows before I get into Hawkeye. You don't want to get to that point, because now people are falling behind and they feel like the new thing, they can't watch it. If you give people some space, less content, less overwhelming, I think they'll be able to get each show as they come out, or each movie as they come out. It's just a better approach, especially for Marvel.
And if they, like you said, if they can skip Hawkeye, then they'll feel like, man, if I can skip one, then I can skip the next one, because I'm already too far behind. And then they just train. But also, when they come with too much stuff, that's there's so many different storylines. When they start getting the end credit scenes and stuff, people are like, wow, that's a cool end credit scene, but when's it gonna loop around? Because now we're in a whole different section storyline with this show, and then this show has a different end credit scene. When are we gonna loop back around to that? Because start getting too big, Nice, like a good thing with the Infinity Saga was like a linear storyline, so like it really paid off. The end credit scene will show up in the next movie, like you got that payoff, versus all these different like storylines with the space, and then the Miss Marvel, which is very different than Moon Knight, and they all have different end credit scenes. Like, people are probably going to wonder if they can connect, Yeah. And that could also be a turnoff from future viewers.
Absolutely.
Alia, similar thoughts?
Well, the quantity was understandable or important when they were trying to meet or beat Netflix, but now that's obviously not Iger's focus or priority. It's if anything, I mean, he's open to licensing things except for the core items. And so that means then Disney Plus is kind of like more of a kind of boutique concept now, or just kind of like a basic streamer now. He's not out to beat Netflix. So yes, quality always the most important thing. But when there was that fire hose, that pushing down on the gas for increasing the quantity, we got to beat Netflix. That was harder to maintain, to have the pun intended quality control. So I think for now, backing off from trying to tackle Netflix is for the best. Now they have like a handshake relationship. They're getting along. There's that Arrested Development deal recently and all that. So,
which Iger does actually talk about the relationship with Netflix.
Even mention them by name. There was no like, let's not mention the competition. I mean, he said
he mentions it, and we will go over those comments in due time. But it's very a very astute observation, and just for clarity for people. Well, people say, Netflix is eating Disney's lunch and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you have to understand something, right? They have tens of billions and billions and billions of dollars of venture capital going into that company every single year, right? There's so much being pumped into that company. In order to make it number one, there is no way that any company, Disney or whatever, could compete with that. And to be honest, if you look at the debt load for Disney, that's nothing compared to the debt load for Netflix. I mean, it is insane how much money actually goes to that place. So again,
and there's signs too that piggy bank is kind of maybe not exactly drying up, but getting less for Netflix. They're for Netflix, they're getting decreasing too. So I mean, their quantity is not going to be like a huge reduction, but compared to what they've done in the past, they are letting off the gas also because the piggy bank's drying. It's decreasing.
You have to get a return on investment sometime, right? And I'm serious. These venture capitalist dollars are, I mean, they're coming due, right? It's
good way to put it.
Yeah. So and that presents opportunity for the Walt Disney Company to actually maybe capitalize on that via some licensing, which is going to be our next question here. Well, hey, you gotta do the transition, right?
It's producer Dre doing producer Dre thing.
That's right. Here we go. Should be playing right now. Is it playing?
And our next question today comes from Carmine Perrone from The Woodlands, Texas. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question, and thanks, Mr. Iger, for taking on this challenge that you agreed to in November and your work thus far and in the future. My question is, in the second quarter of last year, the company spent $1 billion to essentially buy back licensed content to stream exclusively on our properties. To return, you've emphasized a focus on producing content for the DTC platforms, mainly from the core four, as I like to call them, and potentially licensing undifferentiated content from other owned studios and IP, or possibly producing new content for others out of these creative outlets. Could you share what content required the $1 billion last year, and whether we can expect any future revenue derived from producing content for others, and if so, when we might hear about this? And on a lighter note, if you could somehow swing getting the Marvel theme park rights east of the Mississippi back from Comcast during the Hulu negotiations, that would be great. Thanks.
Yes, I echo this shareholder's sentiment. Right now,
the shareholder watches you. We know it.
See, okay, you know where I'm going, Alia. I don't mean to toot the horn of the channel too much, right? However, okay, I look at a lot of commentary stuff regarding the Walt Disney Company, both for, both against. If you want to say, I guess the derogatory term now is pixie dusters, right? Walt Disney World News Today. I mean, I see it all. I see it all. Okay, well, that's nothing wrong with that. Actually,
I admit my bias.
We'll spread it. There you go. Right.
Thank you.
Okay. I see a lot of it. I have not seen anybody outside of this show say, hey, if you have Hulu, right, could you maybe get the Marvel rights back from Comcast? That they have that in the exclusive rights in Florida. Can we get that back in this trade agreement right here? I have not seen that anywhere but here. So
plus film rights of the Incredible Hulk too.
That's right. Oh yeah, and the Incredible Hulk and the theatrical rights for that for sure. Mm-hmm. OG, what do you think? I think people are listening.
Oh, I think people are definitely listening. Absolutely. So it's fascinating. My motto in life is too many coincidences aren't a coincidence. That's all I'm going to say.
I like it. Let's hear Bob Iger's thoughts here.
Thank you very much, Carmine. I like the second part of your question. We certainly would love to be able to do more with Marvel in our parks, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay, now he leaves it at that, right?
He could have
Right,
ignored it too. He could have ignored it. So he wanted to put something out there for some kind of negotiation tactic with Comcast. He wanted it out there. He could have ignored it.
He could have ignored it, Alia, and I completely agree with you. He didn't say much, but what he did say was basically, wink, wink, stay tuned, was the energy I was getting from his comment. Now,
and he knew it would excite fans, so.
Exactly. I think there's talks right now. I think they're talking to Comcast about those Marvel theme park rights. And look, people say, well, why would Universal give up the Marvel theme park rights? Because they can't do anything with it. They can't. Disney's not going to okay them to build a new Marvel ride in Islands of Adventure. All Universal can do is repaint and refresh what they currently have. And does Universal want to be in that position with a dead end land that can't go anywhere? Probably not. They're probably going to want to move on from that and do something else eventually.
Their stuff.
Right. They got their own stuff. I mean, Universal's been doing, a lot of in-house stuff now. Their Minion movies are doing very well. The Nintendo stuff, obviously, that they're connected with, has been doing very well. I mean, look, there's other stuff that Universal can now tap into, and I think that would be more beneficial to them, because with that stuff, they have more freedom in that park to add and expand. Right? Marvel's dead end. So I think Iger's comment right there. I think they're definitely talking. Now,
I think
will
they're
it happen?
talking.
They're talking. Will it happen?
They're
Who knows?
going on a
But it's
date.
encouraging as hell.
Yeah, they're going on a
they're
date,
courting
right?
right now.
They're courting. Yeah, I mean, they're looking to get this deal
Robert
done.
and Iger courting.
First date. I'm nervous.
Wizard, what do you think?
Oh, it could be cool
What do you
if they
think?
come to a nice agreement there. Oh, I'm trying to Hulu versus Marvel. That'd be quite nice. And yeah, Marvel Superhero Island looks very, was it like 90s comic booky? Looks. I don't particularly like that style, but maybe some people do. But it looks kind of old to me. So hey, I think it would be pretty cool if they come with some agreement. Like I said, OG, they can use that area for some brand new thing that will be probably state of the art and much better than the Marvel Superhero Island they have right now. Disney can build a nice proper Avengers campus type land out in the acres and acres of space with their $17 billion that they want to spend over there. Maybe it's all connected. Maybe that is part of the 17 billion, and we'll hear about it later. You never know. You never know.
Here's the thing, one of the reasons why that Marvel e-ticket that was first conceptualized for Avengers Campus back in, I think they announced that like 2019 or something like that. And we know that those plans have changed. One of the reasons why those plans could have changed is because, we can't really leverage this product much outside Anaheim. Now, there was going to be a version of that to come to Hong Kong, but maybe they want to limit investment there. So it's like, does this really make sense to really go forward with something like this? If you have Florida as an option where this attraction can go, now I would think it's definitely back on the table, right? Because you can leverage it across your properties in a way that you simply can't do now. And OG, I agree with you. I think they're not saying anything because, like we said before, they're courting and they don't want to give too much away, so that those negotiations can't actually take place. But I thought Iger's continued comments regarding this question were interesting as well, going back to content for just a moment.
Regarding your first question, the primary shift that occurred in terms of licensing content to third parties came when we determined that the core strategy of the company going forward from a media's perspective would be and should be streaming. And in order to essentially achieve the goal of getting into the streaming business very successfully, we felt we had to take control back of the content that we had licensed to third parties. At that point, most of it was going to Netflix. And we actually enjoyed a good relationship with them over the time that we licensed content for them. But we licensed very valuable content we felt that we absolutely needed in order to launch streaming successfully. And that's exactly what happened. So the shift that you suggest from a financial perspective was so that we could get into the streaming business at a significant level, which we've actually done. And we're proud of our track record so far, although we realize that we have challenges ahead of us, namely to get to profitability. I don't think you'll see much of a change there. We're not looking to license our core Disney, Marvel, Pixar, or Star Wars product to third parties. We will consider on occasion licensing other content to third parties, but that will be part of the strategy that we deploy going forward in terms of our streaming business.
Here's an interesting thing. He said core stuff. So Lucasfilm, Marvel, Pixar, right? Mm-hmm. He said no on that. But he said other properties that they have, they'll consider licensing out. Mm-hmm. I think that, I was talking to Ollie about this earlier, I think that signals the potential Hulu sale. Because what's on Hulu is a lot of this other stuff, like the FX and all that stuff. So that opens that door. If they sell Hulu to Comcast, well, then they're licensing out all that content on that platform. All the FX and Fox stuff is licensed out to Comcast. So I think that is a big tell right there. They're really working behind the scenes to sell Hulu. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Wizard, we actually just had a conversation about something like this in the form of Avatar: The Way of Water, right? We were both surprised how it was like, wow, okay, this movie's coming out to streaming or whatever, and yet Disney Plus wasn't actually involved. They used
only digital. You can only buy it. Back to the old ways. Very interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't just thrust on that all-you-can-eat platform, as they're fond of doing recently. It's like, oh, this got some legs, this got some demand, and maybe this doesn't necessarily fit in Disney core, right? But we can still kind of leverage it if we license it out. It's a very interesting strategy. Alia, what do you think?
I think with Avatar 2, Iger, it's a great way to experiment because it was such a huge hit with if he changes the windows a bit with things of how much extra money they could acquire. So now it's digital sales. I don't think it's digital rental yet, but it's digital sales, and then it'll be hard copy. There is a rumor that they did pay Warner Brothers Discovery for exclusives because it's the last film.
I see.
I'm Iger, so glad that this is over. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It was the last film that they had to share with HBO with that old Fox deal.
Ooh,
and there are rumors that Disney did pay Warner Brothers Discovery for exclusive streaming rights, but who knows? If that's true, we'll know in about a month or two or so. But if it's not true, then expect Iger to stretch it out to Top Gun Maverick ridiculous lengths because he will not want HBO Max to hugely benefit from it, even though they do share it with Disney Plus.
They should do that still, even without if they didn't have an HBO Max, and they should still do it because I mean, look at I'll give you some recent movies, right? Puss in Boots 2, that's a good example. Puss in Boots 2, for a while, they're still in the top 10 in the theaters, but also number 1 on Apple iTunes and digital sales before it even got to Peacock. It was over there for like multiple weeks. Those and Megan too. Megan was in the top 10 in theatrical, but also in the top 10 on purchases at the same time. And then, like as Dre and I were talking, I'm sure was looking at them. It's like, wait a second, Avatar's a hot property. It also is still in the theaters, I think, in some theaters, but also number 1 on iTunes. Why not get some extra cash to just quickly put it on Disney Plus? Wait a little bit because there's some money there you're leaving on the table. So I think it's a good thing Iger's going back to that way. You can get some extra Disney money there.
I think this extended windowing practice is very almost Zazzy-like, right, OG? I mean, it's a little bit like, hey, let's not just throw our content onto theaters or just throw our content exclusively on a DTC. Let's leg it out a little bit. And I like it. I like where we're going. And if we just happen to get here by happenstance because of these previous agreements, well, I think there is value in the data for maybe future endeavors regarding
switching of things. Yes, for future. But it was a great movie to experiment with that because it's so huge. Yeah, so.
I agree. OG, any other thoughts?
Oh, apologies for a lot of my back is cramping up, so I was stretching a lot.
You're fine. You're good.
I was worried that
I'm moving all over the place.
Okay. I'll stress with you. Oh yeah!
See, I can't internet.
No, my only final thoughts is I think that we're in a really interesting place right now with content and everything where look, just a couple years ago we thought streaming was the future and I was on that train. Believe me,
Same.
I was definitely on that train. And things are changing, and it's funny how things are evolving in a totally different direction. And I'm excited about it. I am. I think I'm very curious as to where the industry kind of lands and settles in. But I think it's kind of funny how the more we go on, we kind of come full circle and we kind of go back to the old school. You're right.
Yeah,
What's old is new again, right?
I had
so
a
we'll
question
see. But
about
it's
that.
Sure.
Because it's not really about licensing, but it's kind of not all those Disney stuff. But recently they put episodes of Mandalorian and Andor on ABC and ABC form. Curious, what do you guys think? And I heard a rumor that future Disney Plus shows will be made to be simultaneously be broadcast to all those cable channels and built-in commercial breaks and stuff, so they can be put on ABC and Freeform or Disney Channel or whatever. What do you think about that? That was very interesting because it's like you said, OG Fulls are going right back to the cable, but also Disney Plus.
I like it. It's oh, go ahead, OG.
Oh, I was just saying it's really smart because you're cross pollinating a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing is when you put the Disney Plus show on ABC, now you bring it to more people, and someone who's like I had no interest in that maybe is watching it on ABC now, going, oh, that was pretty cool. I'm going to subscribe to Disney Plus, and it also monetizes these shows in a way that weren't monetized before because now you have ad revenue. Like I mean, I know you have ad revenue potentially on Disney Plus with certain tiers.
More eyes, more people. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
but
ABC, you're right.
Cable,
way more
cable ad
eyeballs.
revenue is way higher. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. I really dig it because now you have content for both platforms.
Right.
And I'm sure there's different accounting that they do in regards to that. But now you don't have to make two different shows. You can just make one show, and it's almost cinematic like in terms of its quality, as we've seen from Andor and some other productions. So I really like it. It's kind of like if you want to think about it this way. Previously, you could record shows right with your VHS and play them back and all that kind of stuff. Then you had DVR services in which you can actually record shows that would actually play. Now you could take that same money and apply it towards Disney Plus, see it when it premieres, and then now you have a copy of that episode that you can go back and watch if you want to at your leisure on Disney Plus. I like it. I mean, leveraging your legacy platforms like that, savvy move.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
maybe they can use that extra ad revenue, put it right back into the production budget for next season, be even better.
Bingo. I like it. So I'm going to skip question 3 because question 3 is about the Premiere Pass. All I'll say about that is this.
Not coming.
It's not coming. And this guy calls in every single time. I know his heart's broken, right?
Like, you're part of a limited group. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah. What is it?
You shall not pass. Right?
That's kind of what's going on there.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, I'll say this. Look, it's just I would like the company to offer some of these products, but Iger was pretty convinced it was like, and I guess he even said too, he's like, yeah, I looked into it because I knew I was going to get this question specifically. I thought that was really funny. He's the guy. He just looks into it and says, look, listen, there's an operating cost to these things, and it's just, there's not enough demand to incur them. I was like, that makes sense. So
now they do use the Premiere Pass for Club 33, Friends and Family, and I think that's the only way you can kind of get it at this point. But that's it, and that's a very limited.
So for
scope.
tens of thousands of dollars a year, you can have your very own Premiere Pass.
There you go.
He knows that too, and he didn't mention it for a reason. Moderation, including budgets.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so question 4. So this is okay. Again, there's a little hostility, a little bit of friction here. But
I was upset, huh? Yeah.
Well, isn't that guy. We're gonna get to that guy in a moment. This guy, a little bit softer, just a little bit. He doesn't go in quite as hard, but he is looking for, I think, similar things. And this is the first time that we really see Iger kind of express a little bit of moderation from himself directly. So let's listen in.
Cool.
Thank you. And our next question today comes from Raymond Hallett from Las Vegas, Nevada. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Bob, and thank you for coming back after a successful retirement. It's a painful task, I'm sure, and I know that you do it for love of the company, not for money. Regarding the last question brought up, I disagreed that Disney has an obligation to take political positions that are detrimental to the overall company. It's just pointless. But at any rate, setting that aside, your comments earlier about concentrating on the streaming service going forward as a primary business front. And I just did some quick calculations that if there are 100 million households in America and we get 100% of them at $7 a month times 12 months, that's $8 billion a year. Less than 10% of the revenue of the Walt Disney Corporation. In other words, it's a capped amount. It's like the number of heads of hair a barber can cut is finite. There's not more hours in the day. So I'm questioning the comments you also made about, and since you brought up their name, I'll bring it up too, Netflix, which has produced volumes of second-tier content. And I can only say that my own watch list has 400 or 4,000 things I'm going to watch later, but I never seem to get to it. Having gone through the video store business in the 1980s and seeing how the video store business was destroyed not by Netflix, but rather by oversupply of content to the consumers, overwhelming their ability to make choices. And so I would just ask you to reevaluate that, because it's not playing the infinite game, it's playing a finite game. There's only a finite number of households that can pay $7 a month for Disney Plus.
But then he
So anyway,
he goes
my
back to his
comment is it wise for the company to take political positions that to satisfy a very small portion of the people when our primary mission is entertainment, not education?
Okay, so yeah, you can see where he's coming from here.
Donald in Mathemagic Land would disagree with that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, okay, America, yeah, okay, but there's North America, there's South America. Obviously, they have their own different profits and so forth. Europe, right?
Right.
I think there's something to be gained there, and even though it is like 10% of the revenue of the company, I guess it reflects the realignment of the company, and it's like, okay, let's not put all our eggs in this basket, right?
Right.
But I think there's things to be gained here, and look, if Iger's right about achieving profitability by 2024, it will be a worthwhile effort. But we will see, right? Anyway, let's continue with Iger's comments.
Okay, well, Raymond, first of all, I respect your position on this and appreciate your question. And I would like to address that. Look, first of all, as the CEO of the company, I think my job is to strive to do what I think is best for our business, and that includes doing what's best for our cast members or our employees, and what will enable both to flourish. I don't think we should or can weigh in on every issue. And I also understand there are going to be gray areas. There are going to be times when we decide to weigh in on an issue that we believe is worthy of debate because of its relevance and importance to our business or to our employees. And there are times when I actually believe we shouldn't. But I strongly feel that we alone have to determine whether, when, or how to weigh in on an issue, whether it's private or public. Of course, with the standard that when we take a position on those matters, there's a true reason why we have. And in almost all cases, it has to be because it directly affects our business or our people. And I think if you look back, for decades, corporate America has expressed themselves on numerous issues of both right and wrong. And our country, I think, is better off for that. And this was evident during the civil rights era, as I recall as a child, when a lot of companies weighed in on injustices that they saw in America. It was certainly true during World War II, when those that stood in silence in some ways still carry the stain of indifference. So as long as I'm in the job, I'm going to continue to be guided by a sense of decency and respect, and trust our instincts that when we do weigh in, we weigh in because the issue is truly relevant to our business and to the people that work for us.
Okay, very interesting there. I think this is the first time. Look, I've been listening to Bob Iger's comments for a while, and even relatively recently, he was all like, "Well, I think the company should take a stand on issues, even if it's uncomfortable for us, even if it, it does whatever because it's the right thing to do." He's pivoting a little bit here if we take him at his word here, which I will. He's saying we should only get involved if it directly affects our company or our employees. That's very different from what he has said before. And I think that's very, very important to note.
No, it is. It is. Under that perimeter, under that guideline, they would not have gotten involved in the Reedy Creek thing because the bill affected children who were not old enough to work for the Walt Disney Company. Right?
Yeah.
So it would have been a completely different situation. We wouldn't be, and we're going to get into DeSantis and all that stuff, but all that drama wouldn't have happened if Disney had this philosophy. What was it, like 2 years ago now or something?
Right.
So very, very interesting.
I kind of think it kind of would have, because there's a lot of LGBTQIA employees at Disney, and they were the ones pressuring for things to happen, especially in the creative community. So I kind of think,
true.
But I don't, that press release that angered DeSantis so much, I think that's what Iger was referring to when he said we could have handled things better. I don't think that press release was something Iger would have approved of.
No way.
No. And it's one thing to stand with the community. It's another to be like, we're going to change this law. And it's like, uh-oh, like this thing was just passed here. This is, you had to use more tact, I suppose. And that thing was mishandled so just ridiculously. And it became a conservative talking point and all this kind of nonsense. It's like, and I remember making a comment. I think I remember making a video at the time, I think with you, Alia, you were on the show at that time too. It was like, look, listen, I don't want the company to be political, but sometimes you have to, right? Because it's going to directly affect your business.
Right.
Or in Iger's words, is the employees as well, if you don't actually take a stand, right? So sometimes you're just forced to kind of get into the political arena because it's going to affect you if you don't. And I think those times, I think it is something that you kind of have to, you have to have a voice in. It's just, how you actually use that, what, lengths you actually go, what restraints you actually use. That's all up for debate, obviously. But it's a very interesting thing. I've just not seen Bob Iger say this before, not under those auspices, and it's really interesting that he did.
No, yeah, the company is going in a new direction. They are definitely getting more gray and less extreme with this stuff, and it's really refreshing to see. I'm so sorry, Alia. Go ahead.
Oh, I apologize for times I've interrupted you.
No, you're good. You're good.
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out, Trey. Thank you. And yes, like you said, you're familiar with Iger's speaking style and things he said in the past, and you've noticed a huge difference with this one. So
I have. Wizard, what do you think?
I like it. Back in moderation, back in the gray zone, back, just focus on, if you can, with be like the other guys, they're just, as many people noted during that time, SeaWorld, Universal, where the other ones, they didn't say anything, they just kept cruising along. Disney's the big guy, so of course they got attacked, but, hope in the future they get back in that gray zone. Iger's much better speaker than good old Chapek, so he knows how to kind of handle and say things, and he just looks so cool when he talks. I'm like, okay, I'm with it. So I think that Disney needs someone like that, or else can't have robots, or else you'll see what happens when you have a robot speaker. No good.
I agree. look, they create entertainment and they create four-quadrant entertainment.
Yeah.
So it's really important that they focus on that. And Iger will have extended thoughts on this with the next question we're going to cover. This is the big one. Okay, I'm gonna skip question 5. Gonna skip it because he asked about the e-ticket system. It's
Come
not.
on.
The e-ticket.
It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. But the one after that is the big one, right? It's the one with the most fireworks. It's the one with the most, let's say, inflammatory language. It's the one that could be the most triggering. So
I love it.
exactly. Okay.
And there are some that ask, why doesn't Disney screen these ahead of time? And I think they do, but it's live. They can change what they're going to say, and so and Iger's ready to expect anything. He's like, I might be asked this. I'm going to like rehearse the answer, kind of thing.
Right.
Right.
This is the big one here. Now, look, listen. There's if you're sensitive to some things, just hang in there. We'll break it down for you. But he uses this caller can be perceived as inflammatory, but embedded in his words, I think there is a little glimmer of truth in there. So we'll distill it all down. But
cool.
Here we go.
And our next question today comes from William Russell from New York. Please go ahead.
New York, kind of all places.
Hello, Bob. I'd like to address what I view as the elephant in the room. Over the last few years, Disney has turned from a place of magic for children to an ideological company serving LGBTQ, IA+, however many other letters you want to add to that, lobbies to groom children. Over and over again, we see how your films and entertainment are increasingly promoting the woke agenda. How can you explain to parents worldwide that you recently celebrated 100 years of history by collaborating with the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus to produce an LGBTQ IA+ themed Disney musical? This is a group who have explicitly stated that they want to indoctrinate children. They literally sang a concert and they sang the words, "We will convert your children quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it." Disney chose to collaborate with these predators to sing to children. How can you explain to parents worldwide that over the next few months, dozens of highly sexualized gay pride parades will take place in Disneyland parks worldwide, the exact places where they used to take their children for fun? Are you surprised that Disney's audience has plummeted, losing 2.4 million subscribers in the last quarter? Parents have simply had it up to here. No wonder you were laying off 7,000 employees from today, in addition to the other thousands last year. No wonder Disney's stock value dropped more than 30% over 1 year. As a Disney shareholder, I have a simple question. Would it not be beneficial for the company to ditch the LGBTQ, IA+, and gender ideology for good? If you are really interested in refloating Disney, please turn Disney back to the apolitical fun place that it used to be. And I bet that you'll win back both the trust of families and the stock market. Thanks.
I have a question.
What? Oh, I have one too.
Real quick, he mentions gay parades at Disneyland. What was
like
that
sexy
about?
ones or something?
Right.
Yeah, sexually charged.
Is that a prediction?
So there was news that there was going to be an LGBTQ plus conference that was going to be held, I believe, at Walt Disney World. Yeah. But there is no what is it? Pride parades.
See, this is my thing. If you're gonna come in hot like that,
correct,
then you should at least come right.
Yeah.
Come prepared with the facts. And then he was talking about this LGBTQT production that says that we're gonna.
Yeah, that was my question. I never heard of this concert or play.
And they were whispering in the background, "We're gonna convert your kids," but you can barely hear it. Little kooky. But go on, Jay.
Well, that video is out there with that choir singing that stuff, and it's out there, right? I don't know if Disney's involved with it though. I would have to check on that.
He made it seem like Disney put on the
Disney
right.
funded the whole thing, and it's an outfit in San Francisco, but I'm not sure its connection to Disney. I'll say this, okay. and I think Iger handles it quite well because
Yeah.
I mean you could like lay into him, right? And he does not. And I find his response actually admirable. But on his specific comments right there, I think he is speaking to, I guess, parents, especially in the Midwest and other parts of the country, that are maybe concerned about the content coming out from Disney. And on that notion, it's like, yeah, I can kind of see your point there. The way he goes about it wouldn't be the way I go about it. I'm just gonna be honest right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all over the place as far as I'm concerned. However, earning the trust back and the stock will go up and the company will do better. I think he's right on that. Now, does he want the same goals as far as that content goes? I'm not sure, right? But apolitical, as he put it at the end there, I think that's a better way to go about it. And as demonstrated in multiple times during this, I think that's where the company is going. And I think it's backed up by Iger's precise thoughts. Anything else before we play Iger's comments?
Just something like that. I wonder what they thought of Howard Ashman and
Yep, exactly, right? It's like
involvement with Disney, the magic of Disney animation. I mean, so
there are so many people in the company's history and actively working at the company right now who affiliate with the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
It's not really a secret, right? That is actually going on. How much of it actually comes into the content they're producing, different story, right? One could argue too much, too little, whatever. But yeah, I mean, Alia, you bring up a good point.
Some say Kill the Beast was, I've heard that some say Kill the Beast, Ashman wrote that with like his experiences of homophobia, but then it is subtext too. So I don't know. So but I've heard that.
Yeah, no, I heard that as well, Alia. That it was sort of an analogy or whatever of like his experience, right, with the angry mob and all that. So I've heard that too, and I don't know if that's rumor or what have you, but interesting, absolutely. And I just want to say on the record, I absolutely love Howard Ashman.
Absolutely.
We've done many videos on Howard Ashman, and he is one of the most influential people of the Walt Disney Company, hands down.
100%. 100%.
An incredible human being, and man, we lost him way too soon. I miss him a great deal, but
way too soon.
Moment of silence.
You think?
Done.
He's amazing man for sure. Like I said though, Iger's comments on this pretty good. Well, let's continue.
Thank you very much for your question. I know you were talking about more than just content. You were talking about experiences that we provide to people, which we actually pride ourselves on being accessible to all people. But let me put some perspective, if you don't mind, create some perspective here too. You know that our company is celebrating its 100th year this year. And we've been telling stories for 100 years that are aimed at entertaining and inspiring families from all over the world. And we're extremely proud of the positive impact we've had on billions of people over that 100-year period of time. And for generations, the stories that we've told have touched people's hearts because they've been infused with right values. They've celebrated heroes and emphasized the value of family and friendship. They've instilled a steady faith in the belief that good triumphs over evil, that tomorrow is always brighter than today. And I think those stories have had an amazingly positive impact on the world, a world that always loves and needs great stories and heavens, great entertainment, particularly in today's world. And we've recently gotten criticism, as you just expressed, for what some perceive to be agenda-driven content. And I'm sensitive to that, actually. Our primary mission needs to be to entertain, and then through our entertainment to continue to have a positive impact on the world. And I'm very serious about that. It should not be agenda-driven. It should be entertainment-driven. That should be the goal in all of our stories. And while I know we're just never going to please everyone all the time, we should be sensitive to the fact that parents have different levels of comfort with the content that is delivered to their children. I want parents to be able to trust the content that we're creating for their children, and we're committed to delivering age-appropriate content for family audiences while also telling stories that reflect the world around us and that foster a greater understanding, greater perspective, greater acceptance of all people. And it's just my hope that Disney continues to be a source of hope and optimism for the world. And we're honored to actually carry forth Walt's legacy of inspiring joy and wonder for everyone. Thank you very much.
It's so funny. Like Bob Iger could do a master class. Maybe he has. I don't know. He could do a master class on. I think he has actually. Yeah. But on sales and delivering a message. I think Dre, I'm with you on this 1,000%. The way he handled this question, because the guy was really coming at Bob like in a kind of like a snarky kind of like a weird way. And Bob Iger, I think, handled it really professionally. And I liked what he said about, I hear your concerns, and I'm actually really sensitive of that concern. And I want parents of all different comfort levels to be able to allow their children to enjoy our content. I think he said all the right things. And hey, look, there's a lot of cynics out there saying, well, oh, come on, it's Iger, we don't buy it, or this, that, and the other. Here's the thing. We are seeing, it's not just one comment right now we're hearing from Bob Iger. It is over and over and over and over again. This is a new direction of the Walt Disney Company. I don't know how many more examples we need to show, but this is the new direction. And he is definitely charting a new course for this company. And I absolutely love it because we've been saying a lot, everyone on this panel for a long time now, that the Walt Disney Company needs to moderate. And they need to get out of this, and they need to get more four-quadrant-y with their films and their content. And it looks like Iger is very, very serious about that, and kudos for him for doing so. Absolutely love his remarks on this. But what do you think, Alia? Where do you stand with his response to this question?
It was very good. It was phenomenal. And also there's that one area where he did mention about age-related and all that, that it seems everybody's missing. But maybe by the trades, it's on purpose. But I think that was very fascinating. And I will recommend, it's not for children, but watch the Howard documentary on Disney Plus.
Yes. No. Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that doc. She's absolutely right. Check that out on D Plus. But go ahead.
Don Hahn is an amazing storyteller, right? I mean, he has produced some amazing documentary stuff. During that Renaissance era of animation, it's been fantastic to see that, and Howard is great. Look, you could have laid into him. You could have responded in a way that was like, "Who are you again? Like, what are you saying? This is ridiculous," Yeah. But he seemed to almost be like, "You know what? I hear you. I hear you. We can. There's a common ground here that we can kind of get to, I think, and." He says, I'm serious about that. Should not be agenda-driven. It should be entertainment-driven. And honestly, that's what we want. We want, really great entertainment that speaks to us, that holds some pretty good unifying values, right? And that brings us together, no matter your political orientation or your, preferences or anything like that. And producing good quality storytelling that is, as he puts it, not agenda driven, but actually entertainment driven. It's what we want, and I understand some people are like, oh well, he's lying. He's there's this. He's
you can't though, right? It's a shareholder kind of official annual meeting thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't lie about the finances, okay. But I believe people could argue that he's just he's a politician just telling them what they want to hear. I didn't see that. I saw this as a genuine kind of like, hey, we've gotten some criticism over the past of doing certain things, right? And we are listening to that criticism. He says that. What is it? Our content should continue having a positive impact, but that there are parents out there who definitely are kind of looking at content differently, right? There's a trust that's maybe lost, so that parents have to feel that they have to screen, at least with some parents out there, and it's like we have to reestablish that. We have to kind of what is it? Be a place that is safe, family friendly, and so forth, that all people can enjoy together. And I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good answer to a question that, yeah, I mean, you could go a lot of different directions with. So
And I
kudos
think
to
they have.
Iger.
I think they have focus group results too, probably of indicating, and it could even be from progressives and those in the LGBTQIA community, but they might be saying that this is not something that I want children to be introduced to at this age or until I'm ready, or I introduce it first, or maybe the show is great, but I want to review it first, and that's a great way to express that viewpoint. So they might even have a focus group result showing that even progressive parents are just,
well,
one step at a time kind of thing.
Yeah, no, Ollie, you hit the nail on the head. And also, I would even argue that, a lot of people blame this, like a lot of the flops in theaters because of this stuff, right? And there might be some truth to that, just in the fact that parents might want to pre-screen the content before their kids watch it. So it's harder to pre-screen your kids' content when it's a theater, right? You're not gonna buy double the tickets
unless you're like an AMC A-list member or something.
Right, exactly. So what would you do if you want to pre-screen it for your kids? You're just gonna wait till it hits D+. But see, that's not good for Disney though, because they want that theatrical money. So Disney has to get back to that, building that trust with families, where parents might not necessarily feel like they have to pre-screen it. The pre-screening could be killing them in theaters. It really could. So that might be a big factor. I don't know. Just
Wizard, any thoughts?
Oh yeah, well, he certainly did better than I would, because I would have cussed that man out. I don't like people yelling at me. I've been like, "Hey, you little bitch." Well, but his answer was,
in his mind, he might have been, but
probably
his answer was very diplomatic. I love it. Very nice. It was I would have said the exact same words if I was as nice as Mr. Bob Iger, but that guy needs to go fuck himself.
Oh man!
Oh man!
Man, that was.
They got the F-bombs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
all right.
And speaking of that guy, I'm not going to attack him or anything, but this is kind of like, if you're gonna, okay, you don't go head first with the conspiracy theories and all this kind of nonsense. Like I think his question overall was good, right? Like Disney kind of depoliticized.
Yeah, it's a valid question.
Yeah. When he got into stuff, right?
Well,
but
some
when
of
he got into,
he had facts too. He's like, "Hey, you're laying off people. You're
and then he mixed in with
putting out divisive content that's pushing people away." Like if he would have kept on that, and he had some facts and figures to back it up, it's like, well, there you go, that's something, right? But he didn't, though. He was like, well, this choir and
pride parades and
these pride parades, and it's like, what are you talking about, bro?
To your children, I'm like,
yeah, he.
Go ahead.
Right. Like the whispering to your kids, and the incognito messaging, and the pride parades at Disneyland. I'm like, come on, this is kooky stuff. Like, you're trying to influence people through your question and kind of bring them onto your side. Keep it cool, buddy. Don't go too deep right out the gate. A little weird. But overall, though, the overall spirit of the question was really good. Just the delivery was like, whoa, this is coming out of left fucking field, right?
Little wacky. Little like, ooh, what, maybe you should do the moderation. maybe
a moderate progressive, moderate conservative person would have asked that a lot better.
I do think so. There was something, there was something to it, but then it's like it just goes nuts. But I liked how Iger answered it, and he answered it in a way that I think a lot of people have been looking for him to answer these kind of questions for a long time. So I thought that was pretty nice. Okay, and then we have one more question. All right, I'm gonna skip the last one because It's basically just a complimentary question.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well,
Especially
okay,
after
all right.
Nothing
Fine.
wrong with it, but they're also
Go with
wasting
it.
time. Like, come on. I was like,
But
give me
to
a
be fair,
question.
you did skip Mr. Premium Pass Holder or whatever.
Yeah. Just to expedite a little bit. But here's the juicy one as it relates to the RCID drama, right?
Oh!
They were gonna field the question on this, and sure enough, it came up. It's gonna happen. But this is the one point at which I was looking at Iger like, wouldn't have answered it like that. So we'll play the question and the comment, and we'll break it down. Here we go.
Next question, please.
Yes, sir. And our next question today comes from Alan Fisher from Ameriprise Financial. Please go ahead.
Hi, Bob. And again, I reiterate, welcome back. As a financial advisor here in Melbourne, Florida, only about an hour from Walt Disney World, what steps have already been taken or will be taken to protect shareholder value with regard to the legal battle between Disney and Ron DeSantis and the Reedy Creek Improvement District? We're kind of all concerned about that here for tax purposes. My son lives in Orlando, and he's worried about his taxes going up.
Alan, let me, if you don't mind, let me address this issue, which I haven't really done much publicly, but I'd love the opportunity just to put it all in perspective. First of all, and I know you said you're a resident, I think, of Melbourne, Florida. We love the state of Florida, and I think that's reflected in not only how much we've invested over the last 50 years, but how much we've given back in the form of jobs and community service, taxes, which you brought up, tourism, of course, and all sorts of other responsible business practices. We've also always respected and appreciated what the state has done for us. It's kind of been a two-way street. But a year ago, the company took a position on pending Florida legislation. And while the company may have not handled the position that it took very well, a company has a right to freedom of speech just like individuals do. And obviously, in taking the position, the governor got very angry about the position Disney took, and it seems like he's decided to retaliate against us, including the naming of a new board to oversee the property and the business, in effect to seek to punish a company for its exercise of a constitutional right. And that just seems really wrong to me, against any company or individual, but particularly against a company that means so much to the state that you live in. And to put that in perspective, we have over 75,000 employees, which I noted in my opening. Countless thousands of indirect jobs have been created. About 50 million visitors will go through our gates this year alone, about 8 million of them from outside the U.S., and we are the largest taxpayer in the state. And you may find this interesting as it relates to future taxes, but we're currently planning now to invest over $17 billion in Walt Disney World over the next 10 years. And those investments, we estimate, will create 13,000 new Disney jobs and thousands of other indirect jobs. And they'll also attract more people to the state and generate more taxes. And so our point on this is that any action that thwarts those efforts, simply to retaliate for a position the company took, sounds not just anti-business, but it sounds anti-Florida. And I'll just leave it at that.
You know, it's interesting, and Dre, we had a video on this whole thing yesterday, but and Dre and I take different positions on this, but like it's becoming increasingly clear. I'm seeing on social media, I'm seeing even with like Republicans and what have you, that people are kind of over this whole Disney versus DeSantis thing, and they want to move on from it. I'm seeing even conservatives saying DeSantis, it's getting a little old, you know? I don't know. I think it's time. I think it's time to kind of move on from this. And I'm not saying DeSantis doesn't have a right to respond to this thing that Disney did. Maybe he can, but I don't know, man. I think the political capital in regard behind going after Disney, I think is waning. People say, you know, he's still popular in Florida. I have my doubts about. I'll say this. I think he's still popular in Florida, but we haven't had polling in a long time. November was a long time ago now. Like, what's his polling today? I would bet it's gone down since November. I think DeSantis really needs to rethink this strategy. Just my opinion, though. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, preference compared to 45, let's say, it's going to be different than approval. So I want to see those numbers because I think those are going to be interesting. I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts. I had to still keep them together. So, Ollie, I know you were saying that it's like, hey, look, listen, this is maybe out of my field of expertise. That's completely fine. So, if you want to jump in, you absolutely can. But Wizard,
I mean, I have armchair opinions about it, but it pretty much it echoes what OG said. It echoes what OG said. I mean,
go for it.
Come on.
I agree with you, OG.
Oh, she agrees with OG 55.
Yes. Not only that, I truly think that Trump is just going to tease him about this, so that's going to affect things. And I don't know, just going for the inspector general. I mean, she could decline to investigate. Yes, she was appointed by DeSantis, but she has a history, a long history. She worked in Washington, D.C. She worked even with Christ. She worked with the previous governor. She's got her own career. So it's not like she owes her career to DeSantis. If anything, he appointed her because she has a great reputation and all that.
Right, and you were speaking on the next point here, the further escalation of this. OG, you want to share my screen real fast?
Oh, yeah, I got you.
We have here DeSantis launches investigation into the RCID. Governor DeSantis orders criminal investigation to former Reedy Creek Improvement District's board's agreements with Disney. This is by Shannon Michelson from Walt Disney World News Today. Remember how I told you, OG, it's like, yeah, it's a public records request now, but it can turn into an actual subpoena later. And it looks like it is making strides towards that effort as the executive branch now gets involved, as predicted, which is kind of unfortunate. To your point, Alia, yes, this was a request here to Chief Inspector General of the state of Florida. And, well, I'll go ahead and read some highlights for you. Dear Miss Miguel, on February 27, 2023, I signed House Bill 9B, Reedy Creek Improvement District, Orange and Osceola counties, which replaced the Disney-controlled Reedy Creek Improvement District with a new Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and appointed 5 new members to the CFTOD board. Recently, the new board members informed the public that they had uncovered that immediately before the enactment of House Bill 9B, the RCD Board of Supervisors attempted to enter into a last-minute development and restrictive covenant agreements with Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, Inc., Walt Disney World, designed to usurp the authority of the CFTOD Board. This is very interesting. These collusive and self-dealing arrangements aim to nullify the recently passed legislation, undercut Florida's legislative process, which was the initial thing that got us into this whole thing, right? And defy the will of Floridians. In addition, based on initial observations of council, the RCID board's actions appear to suffer from serious legal infirmities, including, among other things, inadequate notice, lack of consideration, improper delegation of authority, that's key right there, and ethical violations. That's an interesting allegation as well, such as conflicts of interest and self-dealing. Therefore, pursuant to Section 1432, Florida statutes, I formally request that you, as the Chief Inspector General of the state of Florida, in consultation with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, launch a thorough review and investigation into the actions of the RCID Board of Supervisors described above. Such investigations should include analysis of the following, and you can go ahead and read those there. Now we're going to be looking into RCID dealings, or at least that's the request made, and could actually amount to a formal investigation as taken on by this, let's say, the Florida Chief Inspector General. This is some escalation here, and I think with Iger's comments being look, listen, we're back in the same place we were again, right? It was the shareholder meeting of 2022, right, with Bob Chapek, who said such and such about Bill 1557, right? And that's what launched this whole thing at a shareholders meeting. And now a year later, now we have maybe even more inflammatory comments. Who knows if they'll be taken that way. We'll see about Ron DeSantis' formal response to this. But now we could be inflaming the situation even further, and this time from Disney's end. Wizard, OG, what do you have to say about all of this?
Oh, God, wow, what a mess. This is Ron DeSantis, it's another manager go fuck himself. What a big baby. Even that picture when he shared the screen, he's like,
I was thinking that too. The noise I had in my mind was.
he's like, little baby. Come on. Let's look at the state of Florida, right? Enjoyed a lot of influx of people, right? From California, New York, different places. So what does that mean? They need a place to stay. The rents are rising. Focus on that. Focus on housing affordability. Focus on you had with the climate change. A lot more stronger hurricanes. They seem to be getting hit every year. Focus on natural disaster preparation. Focus on things you should be able. Your state. I mean, Disney. They're literally making it. Iger said himself. 50 million people come to the that's a lot of taxpayer money. Why are you tagging your biggest single state employer? Focus on natural disasters and stuff.
Well, and Ethan, you bring up a good point. The reason why Florida has had a huge influx of people coming from other states is because DeSantis during the pandemic was seen as the pro-business governor. The state of Florida is open for business, right? And that resonated really well. And I supported him with that. I did many videos supporting Ron DeSantis' response to the pandy. But here's the thing. This Disney thing is the opposite of that. The Disney thing is anti-business.
What is this, Anaheim?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's exactly what he's starting to sound like. DeSantis has become the monster he's railed against for years, and he's becoming the same freaking thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the hurricane things because apparently there are some allegations that DeSantis has given a sweetheart deal to some of those insurance companies where they don't have to necessarily pay back some of the damage that was actually incurred there, leaving the citizenry of Florida in quite a bind if you're on the coastline. So it's interesting who he's siding with.
Are concerned with hurricanes, they tend to go to Walt Disney World. They see Walt Disney World as a refuge during hurricanes because of the protocols, the perfectionism they put on themselves with development.
Well, and we know a few vloggers. I won't name names or anything, but there are vloggers who went to Disney World resorts during the hurricane for that very reason, Alia, where they felt safer at the resort hotels than they did in their own home.
As much as we might have problems with DeSantis' approach, and I do agree, it is heavy-handed. You gotta put this to bed. I understand the strategy, right? He wants to go ahead and look, his poll numbers are way down as compared to 45, right? He really has to get into that national spotlight. He's going to use this Disney issue to do it and then transition into more national level issues, right? I get what he's doing right there. I just think it's a really bad strategy, first of all. But now he's a cornered rat. Now he has no choice. He has to get this situation under control or else face the wrath of, listen, Ron DeSanctimonious, okay. I was handling deals with China, all right? I was handling deals with Russia, okay? Who, by the way, not a bad guy. He's not that bad, honestly, right? I was handling deals in the Middle East, and he couldn't even handle a deal with Mickey Mouse. I can't believe it. Right?
Fantastic.
Exactly, right? Yeah, exactly, right?
Fantastic,
the whole thing, right?
Totally how it happened.
That's what he's going to do.
In a way, the blessing with this request to the Inspector General, it's going to take time. So he could just say, if she does accept it, and based on her history, if she does accept it, I feel like she'll be fair, but it's going to take time. So he could be like, we're looking into it. Hey, we're looking into it.
Right. But this is just one, this is just one more branch now. We know they're going to go to the judicial branch first for remedy on this. We know that now that there's a process with the executive branch on this. And who knows what the legislative might do.
Legislature, there was a tweet today from the speaker or something of something, but everybody's just kind of like, whatever.
I guess I'm just concerned, right? I as a Disney fan who wants to see the Disney company do well, I'm just really concerned that Iger would litigate this in the court of public opinion again, using the same venue that his predecessor did that started this whole thing. Right. I just think it's kind of a bad move, and it also does create a level of connection points that didn't previously exist on an official capacity between Disney and the RCID. Those were two separate entities, and now he's conflating the two, which is a big mistake on his part. I think this is the one time where Iger during this whole thing was like, ooh, I wouldn't have gone there. I would have maybe handled it a little bit more diplomatically, saying, hey, look, listen, we look forward to working with the new arrangement of the board, right? Which was similar to his thoughts from his his people working the resort theme park and resort division, right? Between Josh Chamorro and Jeff Vail, they were saying, yeah, we look forward to working under this new arrangement with the board and all this kind of stuff. I would have parroted that language with the understanding that he kind of got one up on him. Right, exactly, right? And I think that would have been a smoother move rather than like, hey, this is a First Amendment, violation here, and, they shouldn't be punishing us and all this kind of stuff. It's like, ooh, that was a time before. Don't do it now. All this stuff is kind of, you're opening up these wounds, I guess. And the response, you're putting more, let's say, wind in those political sails to be worked against you.
Well, and Dre, you bring up a good point, though, in that you already have... This is funny though. You already have a DeSantis who's like pissed off like crazy.
Exactly.
So it's even kind of like almost worse though than before.
Yeah.
Because before it was new. So there wasn't like the guy wasn't already like wounded.
That's true.
Right? But now you have a very wounded DeSantis who's being humiliated across social media and even his own humiliated even amongst Republican and conservative circles. And now Iger's going to go right into that wound with a handful of salt and go, here you go, buddy. What do you think now?
Right. And it's like, are you trying to evoke a response? It sounds like you're trying to evoke a response. And
maybe
it's coming.
I don't know. Maybe they are. Because maybe that's why they did this in the first place.
Don't do it. Stop this. Stop this.
Iger, you battled with, like you said, he battled on Twitter and stuff with Bernie Sanders. No, not with DeSantis. No.
Right.
It's like
and
Iger's like,
why,
ooh.
Yeah,
right.
and here's the thing. This is why, when people came up to me and said, oh, well, don't you think Iger's going to be the mediator and kind of like squash this whole thing to bed? I was like, no, he's not. He's never been this guy. He has never been this guy. You do something that he doesn't like, he will always take issue with you. And here it is, right here. He took issue with this whole thing. He's like, ooh, I get to speak on this in official capacity. Let's go, and just kind of ranted. And I'm like, guys, like you have to take a little bit more of a diplomatic approach here. This is not some other entity that you can just squash, right? This is the government, right? This is the state of Florida. And yes, I do agree with you. You've brought so much business into Florida, right? You've I mean, the tourism industry didn't exist in Florida before Disney. It just and certainly not on that scale with that much money. And yes, he did mention that, but I guess it's coming from a place of overconfidence rather than a kind of, let's say, a straight up confident position, I guess. It's just, it smacks of hubris to me, and that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, no, I think Disney's very confident in this particular move. I think they think they got something. But here's the thing too, though. I don't see too many people disagreeing with that take, though. Even legal experts are saying, well, what's DeSantis going to do? Now, we'll see. I agree with you, though, Dre, in the sense that it's DeSantis will find any way possible to get back, right? Because he has to. Correct. So there will be a response. So we'll see how far that response goes and how effective it'll be. But yeah, Disney seems like they feel like they've checkmate.
So the more Trump teases him about this, and if it does affect his polling numbers, if he goes down about this, would that cause him though to back off and chill out?
Well, then he might have to, though, right?
It's an interesting position, Elliot, because I think OG is like, hey, you got to just quit this and go on to other subjects, which I do agree with. But I think from my position, it's like, do you double down? I mean, look, I don't know what happened to DeSantis. Well, I actually do know quite intimately what happened to DeSantis. But
wait, whoa, tell us the story.
You want to spill the tea, Dre? You want to spill the tea?
Let me get my popcorn.
Boy.
Where's
Let's
my
just
tea?
say some very establishment figures took over his advisory position, right? And have been giving him very, very bad advice because of their own self-interest and working on, interestingly enough, it's not actually DeSantis who is the, let's say, the very... what would you call that? I'm looking for the word and I can't find it. It's the you would want a promotion, your ambition, right? It's not DeSantis' ambition; it's his wife, which is
She
very
wants
interesting.
to be first lady of the
Casey
United
DeSantis,
States?
from what I understand, is very much like, I want to be first lady. I want to be in the
Wow.
White House, and they're working.
That rarely happens. Usually, it's the spouse is like, I don't know, I don't want you to do this.
Yeah, daytime, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. All these, this was very surprising to me. Very surprising, and it's convincing her so that she could be the edifice for their goals through her to DeSantis, and that's really one of the big driving forces here. And obviously, thinking too that what happens with the 45 indictment that just actually transpired will actually take him out of the race. I'm not seeing that reflected anywhere,
No
to
way.
be honest.
There's
The
no
polling
way.
on it is not good, at least for DeSantis' camp. This whole thing has been mismanaged, and that's what scares me, Alia. Because on the one hand, you could see it as, hey, just let it go and move on to bigger issues. But does he look at this as an opportunity that could be exploited, and the only opportunity he has to really kind of elevate himself on a national scale? He might.
If it hurts his polling numbers, though, then that'll be the only thing that stops him.
Correct, exactly. Yeah. And I want to see polling on that specifically.
Right, and that's why I brought that up.
National as potential president, and then local as governor of Florida.
Sure. But the
and that's why I
legislature could
brought
work
that up.
independently, too, because they've been made to look like fools as well.
Exactly, and that's why I brought up those poll numbers, because the only reason why he would continue this fight with Disney and double down would be if he thought it was politically advantageous. But if his poll numbers are tanking and he's seeing that this Disney fight is not worth it, he's going to back off, because it's no longer a Hail Mary then anymore. It's no longer there's no longer a benefit to it. So why would he continue with it, So it'd be very interesting. But it all depends on the poll numbers and the internal data, what they're seeing as to whether or not he's going to actually do that or not. Hey, the poll numbers might be in the favor of the woke war against Disney, and he might be even more emboldened to do this. We just don't know. We haven't got any poll numbers.
All I can say is I don't think Iger's comments made this situation any better. It may have
I hope
actually
you're
made it worse, but
wrong,
we'll see.
but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Usually
We'll see.
Iger is very measured and careful what he says, but you're feeling like in that point he just kind of was like, "Rah!"
I think he went off. Diplomacy in this situation, I think, would have definitely set him apart, right, from his predecessor. But now,
personal
DeSantis might see him as one
anger
and the
or
same.
frustration that he felt with DeSantis at that moment kind of came to the surface, maybe.
Let it out. There's a little bit of frustration behind there.
And
But,
let's take a live look at DeSantis right now, actually. Hold on, I got a live look. I just contacted DeSantis, and I got a live look at him. Let's see. Hold
This
on.
has not been run by any of us. We don't know what's
Here we
happening.
go.
Oh,
The
gee,
live look
is he
at
sharing the
DeSantis
screen
here.
there?
I haven't gotten it yet. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Here we
boy.
go.
Oh, there we go. It should go.
Uh-oh. I think we're losing.
Buffering.
Yeah, there we go.
If it was Twitter, it would be a dog.
I'll bring it up when it comes up.
Live look at DeSantis. Everyone.
Trey as producer is like,
I know. I'm like, what is going on here? What are we doing?
Hold
here?
on. I don't see anything.
Coming through? Is it coming through?
Uh-oh. Hold on.
if it's like, do you see a pattern in the cloud? I'm really bad with those.
A pattern in the cloud.
That's funny. No, unfortunately, it's not coming up, but Yeah, that's wild. It's crazy. It's crazy. This Reedy Creek thing is absolutely wild. It's absolutely wild.
It is, and this, I mean, it's long from over, so we will have to see.
No.
I know. We'll see what happens. I'm sure
Yeah,
there will
I see
be.
your point. You know, you were hoping like a year from last year, you know, fini.
Right. Yeah, I was
See.
hoping that we were going to go into this and old hat, old news. We're moving forward. Unfortunately, we're back. But
well, what's interesting though is how Iger sort of reaffirmed the investment in Florida though, because that was one of my big concerns with the drama in Florida. Are they going to pull back? Apparently not. $17 billion over 10 years is still quite a bit of money. I like to hear that from him because I was worried that, hey, you know what, with all this drama going on, is it going to de-incentivize Disney to invest? It doesn't appear to be the case, at least so far.
It is funny. Yeah. Epic Universe, not enough to bring more investment. But showing DeSantis, who's boss with Florida, that will bring in lots of investment in Walt Disney World. That is funny.
It
is kind of funny, right? It's I like that approach actually. It's like, hey, look, listen, go soft on us because we got $17 billion coming to your state. I like that. I you know, kill with kindness kind of thing. But well, we'll see if that goodwill gesture actually is received, right? Especially with the punitive governor, as we have seen.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think it's a very interesting saga for sure, and that concludes the 2023 annual shareholders meeting. So,
absolutely,
very cool.
absolutely, fantastic conversation. I had so much fun with you guys and gal today. A lot of fun talking. I'll start with you, Alia. It's always fun having you on. Hopefully, we have you on again very soon. You're family here at OG55. So anytime you want to come back, just let me know. Let me know. But if you could remind everybody at home. No, on where they can find you on social media.
On Twitter today, Doge. I don't know.
Doge.
I can't enter that. On Alia Aloha, and I don't know which way it's going to be because of reverse imaging and all that. And I can't enter that. So Alia Aloha. Thank you.
There you go. Follow
today.
Follow her on Twitter. She is awesome. A wealth of information. Really, really
Usually
interesting
I
perspective.
retweet, but now I have pressure. I have to like compose tweets now. But I will. If I get more follows, I will.
Yes. And we got Dr. Dre, producer Dre, the fire marshal right here, doing the damn thing. Dre.
Nice.
Where can everybody find you, sir?
Well, the best place to find me is going to be at VashSky on Twitter. It's right down there. At the bottom of my avatar right here. And you can go ahead and type that in, and it should pop up for, as Christine Waysons McCarthy would say, which we didn't hear from, by the way. Very interesting.
Oh,
for
that's a whole other thing. Oh, that's a whole other thing.
Discussion. Yeah, exactly. A whole other thing, right? I mean, that's a whole other
another video.
The C-suite saga continues for sure. Which we will talk about here on Orange Grove 55, which is where you can find me, which we have a plethora of content that we're producing right now. And yes, it is quality over quantity. That is for sure.
Yes.
From the likes of the amazing person to my left here, Orange Grove 55 with his OrangeNerd show covering everything involving C-suite. Story Geeks with Jay, where we cover the stories that impact our lives, right? Some of those. A little bit of a Disney bent there. In this right now, we're covering all things Mandalorian. So as the episodes actually come out, we're having a kind of a discussion type show afterwards that is live. So definitely tune into that one for sure. And Citrus Corner with our dear friend George, who was very, very missed on this show.
And Jay, we missed you guys.
Oh, we missed Jay too.
Absolutely.
Citrus Corner, we talk about everything regarding Walt Disney World, and this $17 billion thing, that's going to be a really interesting discussion for sure, I'm sure. And if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on the channel as well at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh, right from the Grove. Let's see. There you go.
And, since we talked a little bit about Chapes today, I'm going to do a Chapes drop because I don't get to do Chapes drops very often. So
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
There we go. And down below, we got Ethan, Mr. Theme Park Wizard, our Universal guy, our Universal expert. Ethan, if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media and where they can buy your merch.
You can find me on YouTube at Theme Park Wizard. Park Wizard 1 on Twitter. Theme_park_wizard on Instagram. And don't forget to buy this overly expensive sweatshirt on themeparkwizard.shop. And don't forget, I charge triple and rip you off.
That says Happy Holidays. You should have it on sale now.
There you go. Exactly.
In fact, I'll mark it up by 60% just because you said that.
I gotta have
I tried, everybody. I tried.
Here we go.
How big your pocketbook is.
That's good. There you go.
Not bad, not bad.
Exactly.
I tried, everybody. I tried.
You tried to bring it down, but he won't budge. He will not budge. You will not budge. But I want to thank everybody at home for tuning in today to this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. What are your thoughts below about the shareholder meeting? Bob Iger, Ron DeSantis, all of it, content, all of it down below. Thank you so much. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.